good evening, and welcome to another scintillating and wonderful episode of Porch Talk. I, of course, am Paul W. Marino. To my far left is the one and only Ed, what's-his-face?
What's-his-face, Morandi.
Yes, and between us right here is the one, and thank goodness, only Tim...
You remembered my
something
name?
or other.
Something or other. Starts with a Z. Starts with a Z.
Oh, Zimmerman.
Zimmerman.
Yes, thank you. Ted Zimmerman. And hey, before we get to our conversation, Joanne, would you please put the photo behind us in front of us? Now this is the quiz for this week. This is a gun club, but the question is, what particular gun club is it? Now, if it looks like they are shooting in an old factory, that's right, and that is the clue to what gun club this is. If you think you know, or you just want to take a wild guess, please give us a call, 664-4408. And if you are correct, you will win bragging rights for the next 2 weeks. Woo-ha!
Ooh, that's pretty interesting.
All right, so...
There it is, right there. There it is, right there.
Let's see.
No! Oh, you know who it is.
Yeah, that's right. I
top
do
one.
know. Oh, yes, you do. Oh, you do. Good for you.
You know how I knew that? There's no AR-15s there.
Yeah. Well, they're real guns, though, right?
Oh,
They're
yeah.
guns. Those are real guns, yeah.
There's holding some old pistols there.
That guy's not shooting right. He's got his hand up like this. You don't shoot one hand.
Yeah, well, it's unusual.
Rory Calhoun did, but not,
I've never seen a shooting range where you're all clustered together like that. You know?
Yeah, this is called a cluster.
They were probably clustered together for the
photo.
photo.
Yeah,
Photo,
okay,
yeah. So there was actually 12 guys, but one guy had live ammunition, and now there's only, 2, 4, 6, 7.
So now that the question is out there and you know what information we're asking for, we're going to turn to the three of us and we are going to bore you to tears unless you call in with a guess.
Hey,
Joanne's going to do all the calling in there, right? Because we have no...
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
you know, the shooting range, is there still, I know there was some controversy in North Adams. They had a shooting range. I believe it was somewhere heading to Williamstown.
Yeah.
It's the police range.
Still operating?
Still operating. You have to go to City Hall, the police department, and get a key. I think it's a lifetime $10 or something. And show them your FIDC or your right to carry permit and everything else, and they'll give it to you. And then you can unlock the door and go in there, up there and shoot.
Wow.
The neighbors are complaining. All right? I know a couple of people who go up there monthly to fire weapons. And the neighbors are complaining they're making too much noise. Well, that reminds me of the time somebody up on Franklin Street bought a house of a lot to build. He went over and saw the next door neighbor, right? The next door neighbor says, yeah, I got a couple horses here we ride. If you want to come over someday and ride the horses, man, I hate horses. And if I'm going to build here, you're getting rid of those horses.
Oh, that's a nice name.
And he got on the guy and tried to bring him to court to get rid of the horses. And luckily, the judge said, the horses were there before you bought the land.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what he was zoned. This was in North Adams?
North Adams,
You know,
yeah.
there's certain zones, I know I read in Lanesboro and
Yeah.
Pittsfield, chickens, raising chickens, and just how many you can have. But, oh, wow, that's interesting.
You ever tell you a story about chickens? Oh, poor Les was in the city hall. My next door neighbors come up to me and said, this is Skeezick Will, come up to me and said, could I use some of your front yard to put some of my horses in? Sure, I said, save me from mowing. So he put electrical fence in the front yard. You know my front yard, I got a couple acres there.
This is your house?
My house, yeah. So he puts about 3 horses there. And somebody complained. He's got horses on his land and he doesn't have a permit for blah, 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 blah. So they come up. And oh my gosh, Les Griffin was a nice guy. And he said to me, Ed, somebody complained about the horses on your property. Of course, me, being the way I am, said, what horses? He says, the horses out in front. I said, who put them there?
Well, geez, you should be. My niece lives a little farther down your road,
Yeah?
and since I was on the planning board, he wanted me to help him understand the zoning map in North, and that is zoned for farm agriculture.
Well, yeah.
I don't know. I didn't know up to you, but he's up. He's up. Got the house up a little higher just before all the development, all the houses, and I told him it's agricultural, that right there.
Eric Bunnington, at one time when he was on the city council, put forth a ordinance, and it got voted in, the right to farm. So if you've got enough land, you got a right to farm. If you want to keep chickens, you got a right to keep chickens, okay?
He's got cows. He's got cows.
Wow.
And matter of fact, he plants a little corn. It's kind of funny. He plants a little corn on West Shaft Road on the left as you're going down to the
Oh,
summit.
you mean your nephew?
Nephew.
Yeah.
Because he was talking about Eric Buddington.
Eric Bunnington put, anyhow, we kind of talked and sat down and had a glass of wine and talking to each other. Les would say, well, whose horses are they? And I would go check the license plates. Who's got it?
So, how long ago was that?
Oh gosh, this had to be 20 some odd years
20
or
years
more.
ago?
Yeah.
I don't know
Oh
what-
no, more than that. It was before I retired.
Well, I don't know what they had for
Yeah, it was
zoning
30
back
years
then,
ago
you know.
back then.
I mean,
So anyhow, well, what else do you have here? Chickens. How many chickens you got? I said, they're running around. I can't get to count them. I count 1, 2, 3, and this one runs that way. Then I count out all 1,
Yeah.
2, 3. Come on, give me this. Wait a minute now. You want to know how many chickens I got? Yeah. You count roosters in there, or do you count just chickens?
you don't have anything now.
I never had anything anyway.
No.
So anyhow,
I could see. I mean, up there, who are you bothering up there? You got a big athletic field across the road.
now they do, yeah. So anyways,
Hey, what did they do with that athletic field? Did they just?
That's
do
the
it?
colleges.
they had to tear up the artificial turf. They had to mill everything out like they did Route 2. They got to level it off. It went like this. When they put it in, it went like this.
When it was new, it was like
Brand new.
So that's what they kept everything that was there and just it's all rubber.
Yeah,
What do they
it's all
call it?
roughed up milled. So anyhow,
Not to get off the
Lewis,
animals. I just want- I go-
Diane Lewis was working City Hall, right? And she called me up. She says, "You got to let me know how many chickens you got, how many." Wow. So I got, of course, I tie flies. So I go up and get some feathers and stuff, put them all in the basket. Each one of these comes from a different chicken, and I mailed it to her.
Oh,
gosh.
you still tie for flies?
No, I had to give it up.
Yeah. I got a friend out in Oregon. He loves doing that stuff.
Oh, well, who taught me was Johnny Swazi. He was from, well, what's the name of the lake? You were on the DCR. You fish on your side, I'll fish on my side. Nobody fishes in the middle. Webster Lake.
Oh,
It's got an Indian name
Webster.
that meant you fish on your side, I'll fish on my side. Nobody fishes in the middle. He used to tie flies for Ted Williams,
Wow.
and he taught me how to tie flies.
Yeah, that's pretty tedious. You got to know what you're doing.
It was
Yeah,
relaxing.
first you have to catch them,
Yeah.
lay them on their backs and tie their little legs together. And
Yeah,
Oh.
you got to know what they like eating.
We had a fellow at work that used to catch flies. Make little notes like this, piece of paper, and he'd say, "Eat it, Joe's." And you tie it onto their legs, and the fly would take off.
Come on! Oh my!
I swear to you.
I never
swear
heard.
to
That's
you.
a good one.
Like, what?
Oh my God! Oh, Jesus! Since I haven't seen you guys, I've had 3 ticks dug out of them. 2 out of my ear, 1 out of my neck. They were bad this spring.
Yeah.
Oh my God! And the flies. the flies this spring. Oh, they'd carry you away. I don't know what happened this spring, why it was. It's nothing now, but.
Well, my son went up with a doctor, bush hog, and did the lot. You know, I told you about where my daughter bought. He cut it. The grass was up maybe 1.5 feet. She never mowed anything or anything.
I don't know. Yeah, she came from down south.
And she
Everything frozen in the winter, she said, you know.
Oh.
It was that cold. Remember we had that cold spell?
Yeah.
I was down in Rogue watching my son's house. It got down to like 20, just overnight. All our pipes froze. Because that's when the next day or two, she came over in the town hall and was telling me everything froze in my house. I said, geez, you know, didn't you keep the water running? She said, no one told me. You know, she's from down south.
Oh, I told you, she said, Dad, there was dog hair everywhere. Every nook and cranny was full of dog hair.
That's a nice little spot. I kind of like that right there.
It is a nice spot.
You know, so your daughter, well, that's interesting.
I told her, I said, so when you're moved in, you're all set to go, your brother will come up with me, I'll lay it out, we're gonna take the Coal River, we're gonna put a 2-inch pipe in the Coal River, down around the corner, and we're gonna dig a nice big swimming hole.
Oh.
Just like they got on the lot next door.
Anna's got a little cabin in there, she was telling me, you know.
Yeah.
In back, you know.
Yeah.
I think she's got her land posted, I'm not sure. But
Who, Anna?
yeah, I don't see posting signs, but you fish? Did you ever fish?
No.
Hunt?
Nope.
What did you do? Any outdoor activities?
I used to like hiking.
Hiking. That's still a good one, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, you did a lot of hiking around the city, too, in the cemetery, didn't you?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like being in the Boy Scouts.
Yeah, I didn't either.
It seemed like every time we went on a hike, we were going up the side of a mountain.
Did
Yeah.
you ever come down?
Oh, yes.
Oh, you did, okay.
Boy Scouts.
What troop did you belong to?
I believe it was 88.
88?
That was just
88 or 89. It was the one at the Congregational Church.
Didn't last very long? You didn't last very long?
Oh, no, I did last a long time because my parents wouldn't let me quit.
Oh.
Why not? Oh, it's such a great experience.
Oh. Yeah.
It's a great experience if you like doing the things that Boy Scouts do.
Yeah.
I didn't like sleeping out in the woods.
Oh.
You know,
What?
I didn't.
Yeah.
I had enough trouble sleeping in my own bed at home. I did not like, I didn't mind hiking, but in the dark
Yeah.
and up the side of a mountain, and all the things that you get merit badges for, it just didn't interest me at all.
Yeah, I got in trouble with the Boy Scouts. We took a hike up Old Florida Road up to Savoy, and
Okay.
a couple of us got ahead of everybody, and you know, we all should have stayed together. And the scoutmaster, he was a really nice guy. He was not too happy about us getting. So I can't remember what the punishment was, but I think I had a miss. I couldn't go to 3 meetings, and those 3 meetings kind of put the icing on the cake, and I never went again. You know,
Oh,
but don't get me wrong.
I
'cause
I wish that had happened to me.
yeah. Well, I've had a lot of what do they call them? Not honor scouts. What are they called?
Eagle?
Eagle Scouts. They had the Order of the Arrow and Eagle Scouts. I had a lot of Eagle Scouts do projects, volunteer projects in the parks. They did great. You know, they did some wonderful stuff. And they go through a lot to get all them badges they do. You know, wasn't for me. I was working, like I told you. I was working.
You know who was my, now you're going to say, no way. You know who was my scoutmaster when I first joined?
Probably either Nick or Bill.
You got it.
Yeah.
It was Nick.
Oh my! Oh, God bless you.
Your uncle Nick booted me so hard one time I cried. What are you crying for? My butt hurts.
Oh boy!
And then
Nick.
Billy took over after.
Yeah, Billy did it for a long
Yeah.
time.
And then Tony Abusey took over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I went on a lot of talking hiking, a lot of excursions with Billy.
Oh yeah.
On the Appalachian Trail, our biggest one was from Mount Katahdin to a town of Munson. We went about 100-something miles. and the flies were so bad in the spring, the loggers they'd be all taped up, the horse
the
fly.
mats.
And yeah, that was a tough hike. I still see him walking up that last stretch where we were ending, in blisters. And back then, we carried the sea rats. Today they got everything that's dehydrated in
Oh,
one.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, we carried cans hiking. Oh my God! No wonder we were loaded right up.
Now, when you say Bill who?
Paranic.
Pernick.
Well, actually, I
Is
was gonna
he the
correct
one
it.
that used to be a barber?
Yeah.
Yes.
Him and Gus were together, I think, at one time. And then Gus,
In fact, it wasn't Bill.
No,
it was Charlie.
Elmo and Elmo and
Charlie.
Bill.
he was a scoutmaster too.
Charlie was Nick started. Charlie was there for a couple months, maybe. Then Tony Abusey took over.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, Bill's partner was
Charlie's
Elmo.
still alive, isn't he?
Who?
Your Uncle Charlie.
No, they had this year. He died. They had a big thing at
Really?
Southview Cemetery. Right? They had cannons going off. And
Well, he was a major, wasn't he? Major general.
He was
He
a
had 2 stars.
brigadier.
No, he had
major?
2 stars.
Okay,
Yeah.
was he a
He was
major?
a major general.
Yeah, right near the end, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they had a big sending off.
I
I
didn't know
videoed
that.
it and took photos. And
Ah.
yeah, he was at a place in Pittsfield. That's where Billy and Billy's at. He's been calling me. Okay, he's at a place over by the ski area. I can't think of the name. It looks like it's in a really nice place. Him and Betty.
Betty Baruzzi? Yeah.
And I think they thought they would just be there and go back home, but I don't know if they're going to be there. They're happy there. The food is good. They take good care of them.
If they're happy and they're getting along, stay there.
Yeah, they're getting on him for using. He was using
Kane?
a cane. They wanted him to use a walker. I'm trying to think, because my mother uses like walking
sticks.
ski
yeah.
poles that are adjustable
Yeah.
when she goes outside around my brother's garage and stuff. Yeah, there's
Your
I
brother, who? Not Louis.
No, Tony in North. He lives in Adams.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, well, the Boy Scouts, Billy, I took. We went on a lot of excursions. Well, Billy piecemeal, but he almost hiked the whole Appalachian Trail over the course of his life.
Wow.
I mean, that's a heck of a goal.
Well, I was a guest at one of his meetings, and I believe they were meeting in the ballroom of the Sullivan Block. Because I remember it was a narrow room, it's not a huge ballroom, and he said that if I was a member of his troop, then they would look at what I had to do, like if I was working on a merit badge for cooking, they would make sure that I learned that, and they'd go out so that I could cook for them and earn the merit badge.
You remember all that? That's amazing.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. I had a couple of merit badges.
Hey, I have memories of being a baby.
Yeah, well, geez.
Well, that's only a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that's true. Only about 64 of them.
I remember a couple things when I was real young. I mean, probably 2, 3. I got hit by a car in Upton Street. The guy was scared to death. He thought he killed me. It was probably my fault. I thought I judged coming down Upton Street in Adams.
Oh, and Adams.
It's where the old schoolhouse, the old school
Yep.
building is. He sells what Myers sells pellet stoves. Well, he lived right there for a year or two, and I guess I misjudged if I could get across the road. And he just touched me. He didn't know it though. He thought he did me in. Yeah, nothing. I mean, nothing came of it. Picked me up, carried to the house was right there. So I remember stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Or my father going on to someone was lost in the winter, and my sister and I went out to shovel, thinking we were going to help him get out of the driveway, and she was shoveling away, and that shovel, boom, boom, just cut my whole face open.
She did it on purpose.
Yeah. Oh,
I have a clear memory of lying in my crib, sucking on my toes.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
And I have a very dim memory, more like a memory of riding in a baby carriage you know, the kind that's a crib on wheels.
Uh-huh.
And when I told my mother, I could remember that she wondered if it was a particular one that she remembered. When I was born, my brother Mark was 3. He volunteered to push me around the backyard.
Nice.
Oh, well, that's wonderful. So she got out the baby carriage and put me in it. And when she looked out the window a while later to see how he was doing this with the handlebars.
Picking up?
No,
just the
pushing
handlebar.
down so that I tipped up and down. And
Is that
she-
where you're at now? Where you're living now? Right there?
Yeah.
Oh, gee,
Yeah.
that steep driveway.
So-
He could have took you for a real ride.
Oh, so she rushed out to put a stop to that, and he said, "But he likes it."
He likes it. Did you? Did you remember? Did you like
No.
it? No.
If
Yeah.
I was lucky, I slept through it.
Yeah, no, I remember those, they were, for some reason, that, and then around the Christmas holidays, my father would take Christmas tree needles. He'd dry them in a jar, and then he'd have a little tin, and he'd put it on the stove just to get a little...
The smell,
The
yeah.
smell, you know. I remember that, and then I remember we all remember the accidents we had. I broke all my fingers in these big sliding doors at the Polish school. You know, I was the last to eat in line. I had to walk over to my father's office. I mean, he wasn't too happy. I had him all the way. He was getting me all the way to the hospital. You know, and he said, "Hang your hand up in the air." You know, it was just throbbing. You know,
Gosh.
or I got. I had a big paper route all in the hills, and before papers were delivered, I was up there with a couple guys, and all of a sudden there was some other guys, and we had a rock fight going. And I bent down to pick up a rock, and one of my guys unloaded one downstream. Instead of hitting the guys that were throwing at us, it hit me right in the head.
Oh.
And everyone just bucked, and I'm laying in the river, okay? I think I got 12 stitches, 6 inside. And then I had to go deliver my papers that night, and everyone would come running to the door. "Where are you? You're late." It's like 7:30. I said, I got my, you know, the minute I told them what happened, they all backed off.
Now, this was in Adams, right?
Huh?
This was in Adams. Huh?
Adams.
Yeah.
That's when the transcript. Christ,
Yeah.
I had 96 customers. There's times where I'd have 2 bags. I didn't even know how I was making up all the steep streets, you know?
Victory Street.
Well,
Cherry and Randall and East Street, all of those, you know?
before I reached 5 years old, all of my friends were my brother Mark's friends, because he's 3 years older than me.
Oh, yeah, so they beat on you?
No,
They were-
no.
okay.
We played together very nicely. But one day we were all in the garage. They had discovered a spider on the wall that wasn't bothering them, and with a small boy's natural affinity for living creatures, they decided the spider had to go.
Yeah, okay.
So one of them found a rock that was the size of my then head and threw it at the wall. I don't know how the spider fared, but I do know the rock bounced off the wall and ricocheted off the top of my head.
You hit you, huh?
Oh!
Jesus, they got garage. You've had a few.
And then the day I was riding my tricycle around the yard, and Mark was throwing a baseball up and trying to bat it when it came down again. And to this day, I have a clear image in my mind of the bat coming in for the kill.
Now we know what's going. Concussions.
Now we know.
Concussion protocol. Geez, you just fell in your
Yeah.
garage lap. Now we know. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, buddy. Jeez.
Well, also, when I was given the tricycle, I was told to only ride it in the backyard, never go out front. So naturally, the first thing I did was I rode it through the alley and went down the concrete steps. Not once, but twice.
Yeah, those are right between the 2 houses, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Those, I saw that. Even that driveway, boy, you could get, even in the winter, you could slip and going down with a car, even getting out of there.
Oh, yeah.
That's a nice area over there. It's fairly quiet. You know, it's amazing. There's parts of North Adams I never been
Yeah,
in.
and we used to play in the street. You know, there were lots of kids, and in the summer we'd play in the street.
Oh, yeah, till the lights come on.
I don't remember staying out that late.
We always played until the lights come on, then we had to go home. And it was like, our neighborhood was like,
Where are you talking?
I'm talking Hooker Street, Francis Street, Walnut Street, State Street,
North Adams. Okay.
North Adams.
North Adams.
Yeah, we all played football on somebody's lawn
So you grew up in North Adams. That's when you were young. That's
when I
what-
was young, yeah.
Well, actually, you've been in North Adams your whole life.
You were young?
So far.
Huh? I was young at one time.
Oh, wow.
I was on the road for 3 years. You know, I mean, I lived in North Adams, but
Yeah, that's brutal.
I worked in Illinois,
That's one heck of
Indiana.
a commute.
Well, I worked at South Bend. I worked at University of Notre Dame for a couple months.
Well, you're doing good though, huh? You look good.
I was telling Paul, I was telling Joanne, I had physical therapy today. Boy,
They're rough on you.
rough.
You
Yeah.
got to do it though, Ed. I know. It's.
Oh, I know, I did it.
Uh,
I did it. I just
you know, I mean, that's so important.
and
for
then I'll
recovery.
take tomorrow off, and then the next day I'll go back. I got exercises to do at home, exactly what I do in Williamstown, and I do them.
Are you driving or not?
No.
Yet? No, not yet.
She says I can't drive. I don't know why.
Huh.
Well,
Well, you said
hopefully,
your leg was. You said it's because you didn't have the power in your leg.
I didn't have the ability to,
I mean,
to
that's.
do this, lift up, do that.
Yeah,
well,
Now I do.
hopefully in another month or two.
Well, I can do it now. Well, you know, I mean, just to the point where, oh, you want to drive? Go ahead. I mean, I drove for the last 60 years.
Well, you got a driver's license. No one can tell you you can't. They're not law enforcement. It's just a doctor.
You know, the worst thing I ever did in my life,
What?
I gave up my motorcycle license.
Oh, you don't want to be driving a bike, a motorcycle now, though. Ed.
No, I went in
Jeez.
Italy. I wanted to rent a motorcycle. I couldn't do it.
Oh, talking Italy, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't go with a motorcycle, but if I could afford it, I would get a,
Vespa scooter.
Moped or what?
no, the three-wheeler with the two wheels in front.
Oh, a Spider.
Can-Am.
Can-Am or a Spider,
Oh,
yeah.
the two wheels in back or the two wheels in front? With
In
one wheel-
front.
and one wheel in back?
Yes, that rear wheel does the driving,
Yeah.
and the wheels in front do the steering.
Really? You think it'd be just? I bought a wheel. I always had a wheelbarrow with one wheel. I went and I bought a wheelbarrow that had two wheels on it, thinking I could do a heavy load and because I was hauling wood. And, that was the hardest thing on any slope or anything. I jerry rigged them now. I got them just with one on them.
I got one with two wheels on it. My wife uses it.
Yeah, if you're on
She
level
does her
ground and stuff.
groceries and stuff. She'll load all her groceries in the
Oh, bring them over to the house.
bring them to the house.
Well,
yeah.
you got and a nice like that. It's
Oh yeah,
good.
it's straight.
But I thought my wife hated it too.
Okay, Paul. The number here is 664-4408, and we need someone to call in and identify what club that is behind us. That is looks like they're having a target practice or just a photo op.
Yes. And so remember, if you correctly identify the gun club in the photo, you will have bragging rights for 2 whole weeks.
Wow.
Wow, yeah.
And Paul, the answer was here. I got it.
Yes, it is.
So if nobody calls up, I'm going to start bragging.
Well, give them a little more time. People could be trying to.
Well, we'll discuss it in the last 5 minutes of the show.
All right, I got a question. What's taking place in North Adams, and Florida for the celebration of the Hoosick Tunnel next year?
Ooh, I have not heard a thing.
I think I talked to the mayor at one time. She said that the Historical Society is going to be planning something, but I haven't heard from Chuck at all. And
they pulled Robert out of the Heritage Park. He's running a natural bridge now.
Yeah, I know. He's walking up there every day.
Yeah, they pulled him out of there. I'm not sure what's going on with that. They fixed everything inside that they had problems with. I don't know. I guess it's something to do maybe with the roof now. But I really
The water was coming in,
I really don't know.
along with the raccoons.
Matter of fact, he called me today. He left a message on my phone.
Oh,
He
really?
said that there was a blue heron. What did he call it?
Big bird.
It was a big bird. They've got all kinds of projects going on up there. It's closed this year. They're putting a lot of money into fixing everything.
Yeah.
So he said, I might go up Sunday and see what's going on. But it's some of the walkways right over going down to the bridge.
Yeah.
I mean, I was dealing with all kinds of issues. I had structural engineers in there trying to, there was times where it was just replacing all the thick pressure-treated blanks. But, that iron has been there for a long time.
As long as I can remember.
And it's got all that moisture, right in. And so it's going to be interesting what the final product's going to be. But
You know what you ought to do when you go up there is do what Nathaniel Hawthorne did and go for a bathe down at the bottom of the gorge.
I've done it quite a few times. I wasn't bathing. I was going through
Naked?
video.
That's the way he did it.
Well,
Well, how do you know?
Because I was there.
he wrote about it.
He wrote about it.
Well, that too.
I mean, I went through there 2-3 times videoing it and photoing it, and actually down right under the bridge, 1641, I think, is, I think I got Hudson's initial it was in the, I got to find that picture. And yeah, there's some interesting historic graffiti in there. I mean, think about it. They were making gravestones there,
Yeah.
okay? And
Yeah.
during their break, they would go and, I used to take all the school kids over and show them historic graffiti and then modern graffiti with spray paint, okay? And say, not good. The most interesting engraving up there is when Krakatoa erupted. And back then, the way news spread, okay, and with the dates, and I'm trying to think what it says. Boston ruined by volcano. I mean, it sounded like when Krakatoa erupted, it's what they refer to like a nuclear winter. All this stuff spews into the atmosphere. Yeah. It gets dark, cold.
Dinosaurs died.
Yeah, well,
And I know that it raised the level of the English Channel by 2 feet.
Really? Yeah. Wow.
How did that happen?
Well, the tsunami, as it spread
okay.
out, the level of the English Channel went up 2 feet.
2 feet.
Tsunami, those things are amazing. I was just watching a couple on YouTube. Oh my God, from earthquakes,
Oh, yes.
And massive waves. I mean, I still see that one over, and when the power plant over there, not Hiroshima, but in Japan, remember? Yeah. And I think they're going to release all the water into the ocean. Don't quote me on that, but when you look at the video of that, where that waves came and what that did to that place, I mean, that displaced, I don't know how many thousands of people, And it's like what happened with the nuke plant over in, actually it's in Ukraine, but it was Russia at the time, and near Chernobyl.
Chernobyl.
And they're studying all the animals that are around there and how they're all deformed and what, that's all.
Well, don't forget, that nuke plant was built with graphite containments. They didn't have stainless steel back then. They had graphite. So when...
Graphite, really?
Yeah, when they let loose with the fuel rods, and then what the Russians did, the worst thing they could have done, pour water on it to cool it off. They poured water on it, and all the steam went up.
Yeah. Well, you're talking graphite. I was looking at some javelins that were made out of carbon composite, It's so strong. One of my
So
weed
was-
trimmers is a carbon.
So was the
Yeah, so was the
submarine.
submarine. And boy, I knew the minute I told my wife, when I said they lost contact, I said that thing imploded.
Gone.
It's gone. It's gone. And then the military down the road said, yeah, we did hear something that, with the sonar that they have.
When they said that they had the carbon material, it was going, they lost contact with it. I was sitting there, and my son was sitting there, and my son said to me, well, I don't understand that. Because what I said was, okay, boys, say hi to the treasure.
Well, 5 inches, 5 inches. And what they didn't do, because it was expensive, I just listened to a guy the other night. They would do like an MRI on what they were using for the carbon composite. I can't remember now what exactly the component was, but they would do an MRI to look for the cracks. And if they saw the crack, then they knew that they had an issue with it. Yeah, they paid $250,000 to, I can't, I mean, you read what happened, and everything happened so fast that they they were fish food gel, I mean, they said when they pulled up they pulled up the stainless steel parts, the steel parts, but they said they found some body parts, but a few guys said, yeah, I don't know about that. And you're going down in the pressure, you try to understand how many pounds per cubic inch,
Gosh, unbelievable.
Per square inch.
Yeah, square inch, not cubic. You're right. Empire State Building filled with lead on you.
That's
it's
right, yeah.
what it does to the body.
Anyways,
Yeah.
we're going to do
And on
some.
that cheery note, let's remind people about the Northern Berkshire Retirees Club that we too are members of, but Tim won't join.
I'm not retired yet. I'm not retired yet.
Did you like that joke, Paul?
Yes,
Huh?
yes,
I
that
thought
was a
that
nice
was funny.
joke.
I was telling Paul, I told everybody there, I told him, I said, next month I'll have a joke for you. And when I went to the meeting, I said, it took me several days to go through my repertoire of jokes to find one that had no profanity in it. So I'll tell you the joke. And I told him the joke, and I said, you're going to have to listen to what I say, because at the end, you're going to say, oh my gosh, that's funny. But anyways, I'll tell you, here it is. There's a gecko. You know what a gecko is. They sell insurance, They're about this big, green gecko. And he's walking down the path to go down to the river to get a drink because his throat was dry. So as he gets to one point, he smells something, and he looks up and sees this young koala bear up in a tree. This takes place in Australia. He looks up and he sees this koala bear. He says, what are you doing? The koala bear looks down and he says, hi there, come on up and have a puff of my joint. What's that? He says, come on up. So he crawls up the tree and he gives him a joint and he takes a couple puffs and he's getting kind of, whoa. He says, I gotta go down. This hurting my throat. I gotta go get a drink. So he climbs down and goes down the path to the river to get a drink, and gets to the river and he bends over to get a drink and boom, he falls in. Well, luckily for him, there's a crocodile there.
Oh, lucky.
Lucky. So the crocodile picks him up and brings him back to the land. And he says, Mr. Gecko, what are you doing? He says, I was coming down to get a drink, but I stopped and there's this koala bear up in a tree along the path is smoking this thing he called a joint. It's good, but it gets you dizzy. You ought to go try it. So the crocodile says, I think I will. So he walks up the path and smells something and he looks on the tree and he sees a koala bear. He says, hey, Mr. Koala Bear, can I have a puff of your joint? And the koala bear said, sure you. Holy cow, how much water did you drink? Get it?
Yeah.
A gecko, a crocodile.
Oh boy. How much water did you drink?
Well, I feel obliged to tell my joke too. I won't tell the long one because I can't remember all the details, but did you know that Red Riding Hood, not Red Riding Hood, but Goldilocks was one of 4 children?
No.
Yeah, she had a brother named Pad and 2 sisters named Bagelswith and Cream Cheesin'.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh.
On that note, 664-4408 to
Is the
identify.
number to call to make a guess about what club that is. But we were also going to talk about the Northern Berkshire Retirees Club.
Retirees Club meets every first Thursday,
Of
10
the
o'clock.
Every first Thursday.
10 o'clock at
In the morning,
Mary Spitzer
Center.
Center.
No, actually, I watched the show you guys did. You had a husband and wife on.
Paul did it.
Oh, Paul.
Paul
No,
did it.
Was it you? or-
No, it was Doug Greenlaw was hosting, and his father was the guest.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Well, me too.
Yeah, okay. One of you was there, yeah.
Yeah, Paul does a show every month on
Right.
retirees.
I came across that on YouTube.
Oh, I'm going to tell you something.
Oh, well, all right. In that case, it was a husband and wife because it was our president and his wife.
Oh,
That's what I
Lorraine.
thought. I'm trying to think of his name.
Al Mancuso and Lorraine.
Yeah.
Al and Lorraine.
Okay. Mancuso. Wow.
Now, Lorraine was born in Reesboro, I believe. Reesboro, who's a channel?
Huh. Oh, that's Mancuso. Pete Mancuso's daughter invited me to a July 4th party.
Pete Mancuso's
She's-
daughter.
Yeah, I can't
Nicole?
I got her email, and I couldn't
Yeah.
make it. I was helping.
That'd
a guy
be
move.
Nicole.
She lives in Springfield or somewhere near Springfield. She invited the family, and I was helping a guy move from Charlemont over the weekend. Boy, the housing. Your daughter got a place. It's tough. My daughter had me go look at a place on Kemp Ave in North End. They didn't even put a for sale sign out, and it had 4 offers already over the price.
yeah?
I mean, I kind of liked the place, but we were going to go to a showing on Friday. This was a Monday, and the realtor, it's tough getting,
Whew. When you look at the rents, I can remember when we got married, we were paying something like, I don't know, $55 a month or something like that. Maybe less than that. And today, you look at them.
A single bedroom, they can $900 to $1,200, and 2-bedroom they want $1,500.
My cousin in Athol sends me a notice once in a while. Hey, if you want to move here, I got a nice place next door for rent, $1,900 a month. 2 bedrooms, bath and a half, and a living room. That's the kitchen. That's it.
Yeah, in New York, you'll pay $2,700 for an efficiency apartment.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's got to where, and a lot of it has to do with zoning. A lot of communities don't allow apartment complexes. They were all focusing on that American dream, having the big backyard in your house. And boy, that's made it tough. I mean, in some of these houses that around here that go up for $150,000, $170,000. A whole different category of people can deal with that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, but when you start getting into the $250,000, $270,000, $300,000, it kind of pushes a lot of people that are young that are trying to,
You can't start off at a $250,000 house. I know that much.
Pittsfield was having a lottery there. They picked.
Now, there's no senior complexes up in Florida, is there?
No, the Berkshire Regional Planning Commission, once we were all brainstorming that, and I was looking into believe it or not, the Wickham Summit. I figured that would be a great place for people to be in their last phase of life, because a lot of the older people have to move downtown. They can't.
Yeah.
And I figured we could all keep an eye on them right there. It's a brutal place to be hanging, but it's a beautiful spot. And Stella did a wonderful job fixing that place up.
Yeah. My son.
Oh, we have a phone call.
A phone call?
I
Yes,
saw a call.
we do.
Hello.
Hello. Hey, hi, Ski Patrol here. I got the answer, that picture.
All right, and who is that?
That's the Adams Police Department practicing.
No, it's not.
They all got black shoes on, or a bunch
Do
of
those
other
people look like police to you?
certainly do.
Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but it is not
Who's
the
calling?
Adams Police
They all
Company.
get black shoes and Carol Goldberg?
Well, be that as it may, I promise you it's not the Adams Police Department.
Right, they don't need practice.
But thank you for
Who
trying.
was that that called in?
All right, over and out.
It sounds like
Have a great night.
sounds like the professor, Bad Bob. I don't know. I had a hard time hearing that one. Adams, I don't know, you know, when I looked at it, it looked like they were in a police station. It really did,
Yeah.
with the doors and everything. That's the first thing I thought, was that it was in a police station somewhere, and they were just, like you said, just posing for a picture. But that ain't the way it is.
Well, you know, the talk about housing has put me in mind of a BBC sitcom that I recently heard about. It's titled Ghosts. Have you heard of it?
No.
No.
No, I think I have heard of it. I think I did, but I don't know
Yeah,
what it's
it's
about.
a young couple. The woman inherits a house from her great aunt, and it turns out that it's haunted. It has a broad variety of ghosts in it, and it's a hysterical comedy. Go to YouTube. Now, you can't watch entire shows unless you buy or rent them.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
But you can see clips from it. And the one in particular that you want to watch is titled Haunted in a Friendly Way.
Haunted in a Friendly Way.
Well, the thing is, the wife falls out a first floor window. Actually, she is pushed out by one of the ghosts. And she hits her head, and when she gets back from the hospital, she can see the ghosts, and her husband can't. In a later season, he's going to hit his head, and then he'll be able to see them too. So this one scene, she is standing in a room with her neck brace on, and one of the ghosts is demanding that she turn the TV on right away. They like watching TV.
The ghost, okay.
And she goes away from them, and the one who was alive during the Age of the Witch trials goes, "Get out, get out, get out, get out, get out." And the modern scoutmaster, who has an arrow through his neck, because that's how he died, comes over. "I was thinking today we could do the hallways and passageways."
Oh.
And she runs away from him, and it's not real. None of this is real. None of this is real. And a ghost pops out of the wall. A lady never mumbles. She rushes into the bathroom. The caveman jumps out and says, "Boo!" And she rushes over, opens the cabinet. There's a head lying there on the shelf. "Pardon me, you haven't seen a body anywhere, have you?" "Ah! Is that a no?"
I think I saw a clip of that on one of, I don't know what show it was.
Ghost.
Well, ghosts.
Yeah,
Ghost.
yeah.
Do you believe it? Do you believe in ghosts?
I think it's a possibility.
Okay. How about you? Ed?
Although they're not as fun as these are.
Huh?
Nope.
No? No,
Nope.
no ghost in that old farmhouse of yours?
No ghost.
Okay.
At least none that you can see. What
Well,
you need to fall down is and hit your head
Yeah.
just right, so then you can see them.
Ghost. Well, actually, there was a show they wanted to do. They wanted to go into the.
Masonic Temple.
They went into the. They wanted to actually. They called Robert. They wanted to do one at the Heritage Park in that building too, with that show that they do. You know what is it? Ghosts.
Ghost.
Yeah.
Ghost
Ghost
Adventures.
Ghost Hunters.
Ghost Hunters. The Hunters. Yeah. And actually, there's when we were going to do a thing on the Hoosic. Oh, we wanted to do a thing on Ghost and not Bigfoot, Saskatchewan. But when I started to focus on everything that was on the internet, on the Hoosic Tunnel, there was a
okay.
couple good ones of the ghost. Okay, the ghost that was in the Hoosic Tunnel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
and it
I
came
read
back.
I read up on that there.
Yeah, I can't remember right now, but they went in there, and the guy, he was missing for 3 years, and then they saw him, and so
Oh yeah, Ringo Kelly.
something,
Yeah, we had the short fuse.
And then they even felt where the shaft was that they could still hear them yelling, and they weren't laughing or someone. I'm trying to think what that was, but trains are still going through there.
Oh
Trains
yes.
are going through, they sent in this track walker, who I knew personally. He was an old man when I was a kid, But he said he went in there because there was a ghost in there, and he went in with somebody that had lanterns, and they got in there and they could see the two eyes looking at him, and they walked and walked
Never saw
and
him.
walked, and the eyes kept going backwards and backwards and backwards, and finally they stopped, and one guy said, "Come here," and the thing come up. It was a goat.
Oh,
It was a goat.
a goat.
They had gotten loose. Yeah, they had gotten loose out of the train.
That's pretty, boy, I tell you what, that would have, the EBGBs out of me.
But there was one. If you read the book, there was one where the guy was in there, and he saw a blue light coming towards him,
Yeah, yeah. I
Oh,
know.
yes.
and he froze, and it went by him, and it was like a lantern, but there was nobody holding it, and they went straight by him.
You know, the Hoosick Tunnel, I don't know, 20 years ago on the planning board, we were wondering if we were going to do this flood program. You know, the people wanted flood insurance. And that, no one in Florida is going to worried about getting flooded out. But the funny thing was, though, down by the Deerfield River on River Road was probably the only place where people could be in that, have that type of situation happen. But then I got thinking, and I said, boy, if the water got high enough, it'd start going through the tunnel. I know the tunnel is at a
It would
slope
have to get ridiculously
high
high.
to come and then flood North Adams instead of River Road. But boy, that water would, you know, that trestle going over the rivers.
It's uphill from the Deerfield. It's uphill halfway to North Adams.
And then it drops at the
Then
middle
it
point
drops
down.
in the middle. It drops off to North Adams.
Yeah, I had a kid living with us for a while, and he came back. He came back from boot camp, and he went through with two guys. One guy chickened out and walked back home up Wickham Hill Road, and the train went through when they were there. I tell you, I didn't know he was going to do it. I told him, "You're crazy." You
I
know,
went through on my bicycle.
on the side of it, yeah. Yeah, well, that's the way to do it. You can move.
Yeah, on a bicycle.
When'd you do that?
Must have been about 7th grade.
Gee, are you really? 7th grade.
Well, when I was in high school,
Oh my.
I was supposed to walk through with a friend of mine because we were very interested in ghosts at the time. I chickened out at the last minute. He walked through on his own, didn't see anything until he got all the way to the other end. He turned around and looked back, and there was a train almost on top of him.
Oh my God. Yeah, well, they widened it a little. There used to be 2 tracks, so there's more room now with the 1 track.
Well,
I
they
guess,
did not widen it. They took out the second
but-
pair of tracks.
Right. I mean, that's what I mean. There's
But
more
yeah.
more room.
And ghosts were seen there when the ceiling was being raised. You know, they went in with, it's another example of railroads having the best toys. They had a machine that was pulled by an engine, and it had this thing like a pine cone about this big. And that was brought up to the ceiling and, you know, and they carved it off that way.
Wow.
And
That's how they did that.
at one point, the operator stopped, and the foreman asked him, "What did you stop for?" "Well, there was 2 people standing over there."
Yeah.
Aha.
Now, we are in the last 5 minutes, so no one, well, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say no one is called. Our one caller did make an attempt. It wasn't right, but we're going to give him a point for that.
I think it was Bob
And
Bob
so-
Seldo. Bob Seldo, I think.
Ed, what gun club is that?
The gun club to end all gun clubs. That was the Sprague Electric Gun Club.
Bingo.
And where was the building? Okay, what
Sprague
part?
Electric.
That was the Beaver Mill.
Okay, the Beaver. Okay, that's because there's a couple Spragues.
Yeah, because they're all shooting at the beavers.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, the thing is, at this point, I believe it was in the 30s and the 40s, Sprague was practicing paternalism on a grand scale. There was a company male basketball team, there was a female basketball team, a football team, a bowling team.
Sprague's?
Yeah,
Sprague's?
yeah, a bowling team, a golf team.
Kind of like they do.
did father and son fishing tournaments.
Wow.
There was a gun club, so RC gave them a space in the Beaver Mill that they could use for a shooting range.
Interesting. Yeah, those buildings are something, you know, the beams, the huge beams.
Oh, yes.
Every time I go down, when I was having physical therapy in Adams, you know,
Yeah.
wow, the way they built those mills, unbelievable. The brick and the thickness of the walls. And
I always
they
wondered
knew
where
what they
they
were
got
doing
the
in
beams
those days.
they got. You know what I mean? It was, up behind my house, there was somebody put some beams up there. I think it was from the Mohawk Stone. They were like 24 by 24.
yeah, they're massive.
Yeah.
Well, they had big spans, you know, they were spanning a lot of open, you know, you look at, I know in the Eclipse mill over here, not Eclipse, no, what is the mill over? It was a beaver mill. Eric Rudd had my daughter took me to a yoga thing, and I'm laying there looking at everything, the space and you know, the beams. Like they thought it was made out of rubber that night. The lady come over, you're not doing it right. I said, leave me alone, I'm stretching. You know, it's Easter. They're almost contortionists, you know. It's like, come on, yeah, leave me alone.
Is the Dark Ride project still there?
I don't know. I remember they advertised it.
Yeah, I did take that. It was strange,
I never did.
kind of interesting. Of course, the thing about it was that you were in a motorized chair and a helmet came down over your head, made a very big noise, and even if you're not claustrophobic, which I'm not, that sound made you claustrophobic, but it comes down over your head so that you can only see what's directly in front of you.
Okay.
And as the chair moves through it like a carnival ride, lights come on and you see the work of art just as it is in front of you. So the artist is directing what you're seeing and how you're seeing it.
Okay. I thought when you said the helmet, I know I went to Mocha once and they put one of the exhibits, they put a thing that you look through. And I forget what they call it, but they took you for a pretty amazing ride. You know, nothing was happening. You were just sitting in a chair, but you had these a headset on, you know.
Yeah.
3D, whatever.
Well, hey, we have less than a minute to go. So, Tim, thank you very much for coming.
Yeah, enjoyed
I'm
being
sorry
here.
you will not be able to be here 2 weeks from now,
Yeah.
based on what you told me before.
Yeah.
Well, good luck with
But
your.
maybe in August. Ed, thank you for coming. Thank you to Joan for bringing you. Thank you for watching. And Joanne, thank you
Thank
for
you,
directing.
Joanne.
Thanks for calling in, Bob. Next time.
Amen. Have a wonderful evening. We'll see you on the 21st
21st?
21st.
at 6 p.m.
The first Friday of the month and the third Friday. That's what the local historian, you're both local historians, so
That's right. We are.
that's what I was told. Stand by. That was the famous thing. Stand by and